Hi everyone, it's me Danielle. Welcome to the Fine Print Life. I'm so excited you're here with me. Today, I want you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Get comfortable because we're about to have some fun. I completely understand why companies such as DoorDash, Postmates, and Uber Eats thrive. After a long day, the act of standing in the kitchen to cook can seem exhausting. And with these companies, all you need to do is click a button and someone will bring you delicious takeout. In this case, you save time and energy. During the pandemic, I really dove into challenging myself in the kitchen. Baking banana bread, making homemade salad dressings, and in this case, pizza from scratch. These activities help me to truly become in tune with what I like and what flavors I think vibe together beautifully. In making more dishes at home, I began to prefer my meals over takeout. I love the process of learning and challenging myself to become a better cook. Cooking is such a creative outlet for me now. I love seeing how different flavors merge together in order to create incredible meals. There was one month where I just chose to pick up cardamom from the grocery store, and I challenged myself to keep making recipes that included cardamom. As I used cardamom more, I learned more about how to include it in recipes like pancakes and cookies to help bring out a different type of flavor. Now I know how to use it correctly when I want to get a certain flavor combination from a meal. If you've ever been somebody who's pinned a ton of recipes to your Pinterest board, take time to learn one of those recipes. Actually recreate one of them. It may not be as hard as it looks, and you'll be so happy you did it. If the kitchen is intimidating to you, start small by following simple recipes for meals that you already like. Start with a simple recipe for spaghetti if you don't know how to do that. Hey, some people don't know how to make eggs. Take your time and just start. As you start, then you practice. And as you practice, you'll become better. Don't despise small beginnings in the kitchen. Even the greatest chefs didn't know what they were doing when they first started. One of the things that I've noticed when people are navigating grief or they're navigating burnout, there's some similarities regarding how you heal from them. Grief recovery, burnout recovery. How do you experience healing in those areas? One of the things that is strongly encouraged is finding people who feel like home. People who are considered safe in your life. Find those people so that you can connect with them, because connecting with them provides a sense of healing. And it's interesting because there is this album that I think is probably one of my favorite albums ever at this point. It's by Israel Houghton, and it is called Feels Like Home. And he recorded this album during quarantine. It was a live recording during quarantine, and he put the whole thing on YouTube, so I'll put the link to the full live recording in my description box. The music, the musicians, Jesus. From watching Israel move from the piano to the guitar to just not playing anything but just singing was just so inspiring. I love that album and I love the recording. So I would strongly suggest you watch it if you're into music at all. But then on top of that, the song Feels Like Home, there is an actual song. In addition to the album being called Feels Like Home, there's a song called Feels Like Home. And he's talking to the Lord. Like, honestly, it sounded a lot like he was talking about his wife, Adrienne Bailon Houghton. But it really could be applied to anybody that say that it feels like home when I'm with you. My home is where you are. Your arms are open wide. Your presence fills my heart. Invited by your smile. Finally, I can breathe. You breathe life into me. We're standing face to face. You welcome me to say, it feels like home. It feels like home when I'm with you. It feels like home here is where I belong. Your presence is home. And it's do do do. I love that song. You hear me? Love the song. But it's one of those songs that reminds me of what it means to recover from grief or recover from burnout. Finding people who are safe spaces for you, who can be just warm, inviting, welcoming, non-judgmental, funny. Like if you think of who your favorite people are in life, think of why, and then be unapologetic in your pursuit of them to make sure that you maintain that closeness. Granted, treat them well. Don't take them for granted, because you don't want them saying, you got to stay over there. You don't want that. So treat those people well, but also make sure that you cultivate those relationships, because they are important and they are going to fortify you. Or they're part of the fortifying process when you are trying to move through really difficult seasons and situations in your life. One of my friends, she was like, I haven't seen The Color Purple. Would you like to come with me to see it? And I was like, this is inconvenient, because it's a school night. Wednesday is the middle of the week, but I stopped everything I was doing and we went to the movies. We had a great time. We loved The Color Purple. We thought it was amazing. I know on the internet people say they hate it, but I loved it. But so I went to see The Color Purple with a friend I hadn't seen in a long time, and I told another group of friends, hey, if you guys ever want to go to dinner or lunch in a movie, let me know in advance, ahead of time. That's important. But as it's just those moments that matter and count. And I think that I don't want to wait for big events to be able to connect with people that I care about. Also, I watched Native Land podcast. It's a podcast with Angela Rye, Tiffany Cross, and Andrew Gillum. With each episode, they've talked about their personal experiences. Yesterday, I watched Andrew Gillum's testimony, part 1 of his testimony. And watching him, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch because he just couldn't stop crying. He just cried and cried and cried. He kept crying. And I think seeing him so emotional, it humanized him in a way, because I think that especially with politicians, we kind of look at them, well, at least I do, they seem larger than life. But when Andrew Gillum's scandal happened, if you don't know about it, you can Google it. But there was a scandal that happened with him back in 2020. And I remember feeling the secondhand embarrassment. I remember wanting to get under the covers and cringe for him, because I was like, oh my gosh, how is he going to get through this? How is his family going to get through this? This is just so embarrassing. And so I felt the pain for him. And so to see him talk through it on Native Land podcast was, it validated everything that I was feeling. He can't be okay. This has to be really difficult. And so he is going to do a part 2, I'm assuming next week. But I will admit, it was a hard watch. In that part 1, he just cried, just couldn't stop crying. And you could tell this was something that he's continuing to walk through. But I was happy that he had enough strength to share his testimony. I really do. And I really do wish the best for him. So if you haven't already checked out Native Land Podcast, I would encourage you to do so. In part 1 or episode 1, Angela Rye talks about an experience that she had with Chris Cuomo from CNN. And then episode 2, Tiffany Cross goes into detail regarding what happened between her and MSNBC that had her fired suddenly without any explanation. So she talks about that on the episode 2. And then episode 3, Andrew Gillum was supposed to talk, but he ended up having oral surgery, so he couldn't. He was there, but he was physically in pain. And I'm glad he waited until episode 4 to share his experience, because the way he could not hold it together, I can't imagine not being able to hold it together, and you have you're recovering from oral surgery at the same time. That just is not a good mix. So yeah, check out that podcast if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to that podcast and support them. So that is that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you guys have a wonderful week. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to this channel. All right.